Ladies and gentlemen, I am Benny Goodman, and welcome to 2020'd, a brand new podcast with me, my lovely cohorts in crime. You've seen it here. They're just as guilty. Give it up for Siobhán Cronin, somewhere on a box near you. And then my good friend, my compatriot, whiskey drinker, not fellow whiskey drinker. I don't have a liver for it.
Compatriot.
Cory Paza! Paza! What's your name? Pazy?
Yeah,
Paza?
it's okay. We'll get it right in the next episode.
I just fucking 2020'd you, and they don't even know what it means yet.
So what does it mean?
What does it mean? Well, let's tell them how this happened. It's almost like this is slightly contrived, but we had to think about it because it's like, how do you explain how fucking crazy I am? How nice Siobhán is, and how just level, even tempoed you are, Cory, without giving them the background of how this fucking happened, which is like this. Remember the day you walked outside and it turned into a science fiction film and it's like, don't go out. You must quarantine yourself. Even though you had plans, you had places to be, you had things to fucking do, people to call, you know, a job to go to, maybe a tour.
Yeah, some of us were, halfway across the world, I think.
Yep. Somewhere in Russia.
Somewhere in Russia. I think that's like a James Bond movie, isn't it?
Probably.
Something
Felt like a
that.
James Bond movie.
But stop 2020ing my train of thought. Are you folks getting what we're doing here? So you walk outside, you think everything's fine, and then everybody is getting sick, and they're telling you stay home. So what do? How did you get 2020? So for me, Siobhán and Cory here, we are in a band, Lost Symphony, which is also our sponsor since so far Snapple, which is the greatest stuff on earth. It is the best stuff on earth. And actually, if you open up the top, it tells you things. Snapple, who doesn't support us, unlike Lost Symphony, we are a band, and we were told, hey, bands aren't doing a whole lot of shit right now. Write an album. We already have the album. So we're like, well, what do we do? And our label's like, well, Betty's loud. Why don't you have him just do a fucking podcast? I'm like, I can't do a podcast by myself. I can't even get dressed by myself. So that hence calling Siobhán, who's like a million times exponentially smarter than me, and Cory, who's at least 800,000 times exponentially smarter than me, to offset the craziness so that we can hopefully get the message of positivity, maybe how to navigate this crazy universe with the COVIDs out there and the particles and the things, and somehow maybe get closer and get to know each other and get below the water, as I used to say in all of my corporate meetings before my brain got completely destroyed.
Yeah, it's a way to stay socially relevant, right? While being socially distanced. Is that your saying?
It is my saying, although technically we haven't said it yet because this is our first episode. But yes, I want to be socially relevant while being socially distant. I don't even know if I was ever socially relevant. I don't know if this will be socially relevant. I guess it's up to the listeners. But that said, I'm Benny Goodman. I'm a musician. I'm in Speakeasy Studios right now. If you look behind me, like this is what I fucking do all the time. I'm a wedding DJ as well. So you can obviously think about how fucking awesome this season has been in Boston, Massachusetts. And I have looked to Cory and Siobhán because other than my cats, my girlfriend and her daughter, I don't know what living beings other than like the groundhog that keeps eating all my grass seed look like.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Cory, you want to go next?
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
It's so good.
Follow that up.
Yes.
It's so, Snapple is so good. It's the best stuff.
It is great.
Sponsor us.
I think that just like Ben, full-time musician and studio engineer, and used to playing out multiple times a week. And this year, like everyone else, I've been relegated to a dark studio where, I feel
it looks
quite
really light over there. It's actually very light. It's
Yeah.
almost like you have like a light kit or something.
There's a little bit of artificial enhancement going on, but when I'm working and composing and doing all that stuff, I'm like a hermit. But so we came up with this idea to put ourselves out there as performers in a different way and hopefully entertain people in a new way. And in the process,
are you bored yet, Siobhán?
No, I'm just letting Cory talk. I'll get to my introduction.
I didn't know. I just was curious because I started just drifting off into nowhere land.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Whenever
Cory.
you're not talking, that's what happens.
Right.
What?
I said that happens whenever you're not talking.
What?
Yes.
Exactly.
But yes, Siobhán's the one with the real interesting story.
No, not really. No. So for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm a classical violinist by training, but mostly a rock violinist in practice.
Did you tell him you're a fucking rock star in the band Star Set and that you have 2 billion fucking streams on Forbes? Holy fucking Christ. And that
Well, I was
we're
about
just
to get there.
begging in the fucking streets for people to listen to our demo while you're selling VIP packages for more money than I make in a day.
Well, anyway, like Benny said, I play in a band called Starset, but how I met Ben was actually through playing a festival with Starset when Next Door, All That Remains was in their dressing room, and Ollie Herbert came up and introduced himself to me. So by a weird series of serendipitous events, I met Ollie and then met Ben and then became involved in the Lost Symphony project. And we've been friends ever since, worked on a few albums together.
Can we explain that story really quickly? I'm going to do the Ollie voice, okay?
Yeah.
Siobhán is in the other room playing Vivaldi, getting warmed up to be on stage because Siobhán's actually highbrow, plays in a big band, and actually can play Vivaldi. For all those that don't know who Vivaldi is, Google that shit and be like, oh, that's really impressive.
Not Angel.
Not Angel Vivaldi.
We'll talk
about him soon because we love Angel. Yes. So, and he walks in, and this you have to know, if you knew Ollie, he had a very monotone voice. He's like, are you playing Winter? Which is a piece by Vivaldi. And Siobhán's ears pricked up, of course. Like, how would you know that? Like, and you have to understand, Ollie's 6'4", was 6'4", had a big beard, looked like a warlock, long hair, always black is the new black on black. So like when he walked around, I mean, he also used to speak with like, Spider-Man hands. So he looked like a warlock when he spoke and played on stage and would do things. So it'd be like that guy coming up to you and being like, wait a minute, is that Vivaldi? And then it turned out that it was Vivaldi, and he was like immediately smitten with your playing. He actually called me from the backstage area because we were doing the band Lost Symphony, which if you listen to, it's a instrumental kind of, some people use the term shred. I don't know if I'd say shred, but like very bombastic,
cinematic
rock. It's cinematic.
It's sprinkled with shred, but there's
sprinkled with some shred
sprinkled.
to it.
And we had always talked about doing an orchestra. In fact, my brother Brian and myself had programmed an orchestra because, well, who the fuck plays strings? And Ollie called me like, that guy in Back to the Future calling like his cousin Marvin. Hey, you know that new music you're looking for? Well, listen to this. Well, I found you a fucking violinist, and she's pretty, and she's smart, and she plays fucking Vivaldi. And I'm like, really? And then like I'm literally backstage at a wedding that I'm doing like in between the cocktail hour or whatever. And I'm calling her and she's like, yeah, I'll fly across the country and we'll record at your studio. And literally the first time we met, like it could have been a total joke. She like, it was like I picked her up at the airport. She had no idea who the fuck I was. She's like, cool, where am I sleeping? And I'm like, wow, you were so adorable.
Well, it's good you met me in my 20s. I just rolled with the punches then. I'm a little more skeptical now.
As you should be. Your kidneys would go for a lot on eBay.
But it's so funny because I feel like I live a double life sometimes because when I'm in like the classical world, because I'm pretty evenly split, half the year I'm playing a lot of classical music and then the other half of the year I'm doing a lot of rock touring. And, it is funny when I'm backstage. And first of all, I'm often one of the only girls that you see, especially if you're at a festival. Because most of the rock bands are dudes. Yeah. And so our band has another female cellist, but, most of the time I'm kind of sequestered in my own area just practicing. So I never expect one to see any girls.
I didn't see a girl until I was 14. I only listened to Iron Maiden and Metallica, and all it was a sea of black shirts and a bunch of dudes just going. And like every once in a while you would see what you thought was a dude and turn around, just like a chick with a mullet. That was like really, like rocking the Def Leppard shirt circa 1987. But other than that, I didn't know what a woman looked like for a long time.
No, but it was, aside from that, it was totally unexpected for anyone to ever just like walk into our dressing room. And so when Ollie walked in, I was like, maybe I hope there are more people like this in the rock world because it was cool. I was like, oh, somebody that likes classical music and recognizes that. So it was amazing that happened.
Yeah, and all the connections that have happened since that started, that introduction led to everything that's kind of happened since with Lost Symphony. Just think of all the people that we've met through Ollie
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's like 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon, 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon. 6 degrees
could be a lot of degrees.
Yeah, to Ollie though, because Ollie knew everybody. And the thing is that Ollie was, and for people that don't know Ollie was a absolutely phenomenal level guitarist, but like really he was a composer. He understood music. He was a music theorist. Like he actually had videos. He was a teacher actually before even anything else, and a performer. And he really just had a very focused head on his shoulders for a band that you may write off as just being like a heavy band. Like a lot of people have these stereotypes of bands, which is another thing we want to do in the show, where we want to interview people from all walks of life, whether it's in the entertainment industry, whether it's, you're a musician in a death metal band, whether you're a producer, whether you're a marketing person. We have a bunch of really great people on the docket. And the whole point is that you can never judge a book by its cover, because some of the most intelligent or, learned or cultured people, come in the strangest formats, certainly the strangest bands. And we want to just expose that here because I don't think people always see behind the curtain, if you will, of what the entertainment industry is like, in, as Siobhán says, in Gen Pop. Guys, Google that. It means general population. That means you guys, not her, because she's backstage and cool.
No, but speaking of, especially the current times, we're all in quarantine. A lot of us are doing things that are virtual. Lost Symphony was kind of like the original quarantine project in a lot of ways, even though it started so long ago, because it features people that are from all over the world, all different walks of life. We've all come in at different points.
Yeah, an interesting thing, the core band itself has never actually been in the same room.
Yeah, never. Recorded from different locations. So it's, it's pretty interesting. So I feel like, doing this felt pretty natural for us to just, continue talking virtually because we've been doing this for so long.
Here's the other thing that's ironic. So we're hoping, guys, with your help of going to lostsymphony.com, hopefully liking the music, hopefully telling your friends, and hopefully spreading it like a disease. It's not a metaphor. It really happened. That maybe we could sell some records. But we got 2020'd into doing this shit to sell you records because we can't even fucking tour. And the thing is, it's an instrumental band. So how the fuck would you know that I'm this obnoxious without having to watch this? And the thing is, it's only funny if you get to see me be obnoxious to other people, because that is funny. Because if there's anything we can all agree about, other people's misery sometimes can be amusing, especially when you're miserable yourself.
Exactly.
Trying to keep it positive as always.
Yeah. No, but so we're going to use this platform to kind of talk to some of our friends in the business. And
like who, Cory? Like who?
Like who? I don't know.
Like who?
Who do we have coming up? We've got a lot of the guests that were on Lost Symphony, which is cool.
Like who?
Well, I'm getting to that, Ben.
Well, no, she likes owls. I don't know if people know, but Siobhán likes owls.
Total left field.
I just wanted to say who a bunch.
Yeah. So
all right,
we need like an off the rails button for this show. It'll be incredibly overused. No, who do we got coming up? We got Richard Shaw of Cradle of Filth, who contributed to the Chapter 1 record. That
he's a thinker, dude.
He's a great dude. That's
so. Can we just say this right from the beginning for the people that are gonna watch that episode, which I hope get the fuck on it. But Richard, so even from my perspective, like you see a band like Cradle of Filth, I think of like, upside down burning crosses and people with face paint on, like looking like they're going to a satanic ritual. And then you talk to this guy and he's so cultured. He knows Andrew Lloyd Webber and Stephen Sondheim, and he's a million times better at music theory than me. And he's so eloquent. And you go, I never would have made that. And I think that's part of the show.
Yeah, we're going to talk to a lot of people that you'll get to see what it's like. Shut the hell up, Ben. You get to see what it's like to be a professional entertainer, professional artist, professional producer. I'm talking to some TV personalities at some point that people might know. And I think that you're going to see parallels to amongst all successful people and the way they approach life and career decisions.
That's what's amazing about podcasting or even just social media, even though it's got a lot of negatives, of course. But I mean, all of us as artists are so multidimensional, whether you're in TV or in music or, any sort of creative field. We do so many different things, but there actually are a lot of similarities between what what we all envision and what we believe, you know?
Yeah, there's a million paths to success and whatever that means to you, but there's a lot of parallels in terms of attitude that I think we see amongst almost everyone. Unless you just fall into a great gig and you're just like, oh, cool, that was easy.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's cool because some people might get a certain impression from listening to music. Like, it's so funny when I meet people playing at Star Set shows or whatever, and, you know, they might see a photo of me or someone else or videos or listen to the music and imagine that you're a certain way and, you know, imagine that you've been on a certain path. And then you talk to them like, oh, you're so different from what I thought. And I think it's so cool to be able to open up that platform here, you know, so people can, like you said, get behind the curtain and see what goes on in the mind of these people making the stuff you listen to.
So, okay, for all the people that are as ADD as me, you want to know who's going to be on here? Well, one of the first things that I'm very excited to announce is we got David Abraziz. Now, I know you may not remember the name because you may not be as old as me. And believe me, I'm old. I'm fucking old. And he's from a band called Pearl Jam. Now, the thing is with Pearl Jam's had 5 drummers. And there was only one period in my mind that kind of mattered. And I call that the David period, the David Abraziz period. And he's kind of disappeared. If you go on Wikipedia, since 1994, there's nothing. We got him to talk about all of it. Everything from what Axl Rose is like, to what Eddie Vedder was like, to how the fuck does it feel to be the #1 band in the world, setting records with your first recorded record with the band where people are waiting outside. You're making $72 a minute as a band. That's the kind of thing I want to know about. So we got David from his remote location, on top of which we talked to our manager because, you know, again, we 2020'd this guy because he's so beyond our pay grade. But Dan Beck, Siobhán, do you want to explain what it's like to talk to a guy like Dan Beck?
Dan Beck is, like we all say, the oracle. He just has story upon story of interactions with some of the most famous people, from Michael Jackson to who else? Cyndi Lauper.
He's like the Forrest. He's like the Forrest Gump of music industry. Like every time you tell a story about something, it's like, oh, he was there, and he probably caused that to happen.
Witness some of the greatest moments in music history.
We talk about it on the show, but I'll give you a perfect example. Like I called him. I sent him a meme because, you know, that's how we speak in 2020. Like, we speak in memes. That's my political. Yeah. So I sent him a meme that said, even if you don't like the Eagles, we can all agree that Joe Walsh is awesome. And then he immediately starts going into this diatribe about how Joe Walsh just poured a pitcher of water into a TV that was on and then proceeded to have people just disassemble the hotel room. And I'm like, that. Yeah. So normally, if that was anyone else,
that episode,
if it was anyone else, he'd be like, shut the fuck up. That's bullshit. But Dan Beck, that's what he wakes up to every day. Joe Walsh just pouring a fucking pitcher of water into a television. But you stick around. I mean, because the thing is, I don't know about you, but one day I want to be as successful as Siobhán. So then I don't have to worry about doing this shit. I don't have to talk to any of you.
You think I don't have to worry about doing this shit? You think we make money playing music?
You don't?
Well, of course. I mean, we do, but it's a totally different. Even some of the people that we talked to came from a slightly different era. Think about David or even Dan and some of his experiences. They came from a totally different era of rock and roll where that crazy shit happened too.
So music's been devalued.
Well, it's been, I wouldn't necessarily say it's been devalued, but it's become a lot more accessible. Now you can go on YouTube, you can watch stuff for free. It's streams and spins instead of buying albums. So the industry has changed a lot in a short period of time. But even in terms of the, you know, we were saying, you know, funny stories of people, you know, like Dan interacting with rock stars, totally different era. You know, stuff could happen that can't happen anymore. It's different social media, Facebook, all this stuff.
You would not see Michael Jackson playing tag with Emmanuel Lewis at the Super Bowl. Now, that's a story that Dan told. You'll have to listen for it. But like, that seems like a world that just seems intangible to me, because the world that I know is I put on a mask. I go outside to the grocery store. I'm scared of the outside world, which actually I've been all of my life. I don't like people or interactions or saying hello, or it's just a lot of peopling for me. But it's just, you hear from this different world. But then we have people like Jason Leckberg, who's a marketing guy. Now, you may not have heard his name, but I guarantee you've heard a lot of the bands he's worked with. And the thing is, for me, is in a world where you can't be a band that makes just gajillions of dollars because you got a #1 single. It doesn't work like that anymore. Like Post Malone and Kanye and those are, Ed Sheeran, are very, very, very isolated incidents in the music industry, it's like the 1%, if you will. And it's not even 1%. It's like the 0.0000001%. How do you make money? What does that look like? And, you know, I will just quote one thing that Jason said is that any millionaire that he knows has 7 forms of income.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And even if you are a rock star, you know, you watch a show like Shark Tank or something like these guys have a million fucking businesses. You know what I mean? Like David Geffen made $500 million in the music industry with Nirvana, and he made $2 billion selling art.
Well, I think it comes down to like adaptability. And that's something that is a reason we're doing a show like this is we're trying to adapt to a different climate where we can't operate as a band like we're used to.
Speaking of which, my air conditioning is cold. I'm going to go shut it off. But you guys talk amongst yourselves.
Story. And once again, a lot of the people we talk to, a theme amongst them is that you kind of roll with the punches and are able to take opportunities and run with them, which is, I think, a super important attitude to have if you're trying to do something in the creative field, because it's not like a corporate job where you're going to climb a ladder. You might have to take a left turn or take a right turn or hop back a little bit, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and of course, even with music, if you are successful, there's so many layers of people that are taking cuts off the top. So even some people might look and perceive a band, you know, that's making a lot of money or getting a lot of streams. But then of course there's the label, there's the management, there's all sorts of other.
A lot of fat cats getting paid to do very little.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize. So yeah, you have to be willing to go through the hustle and do other things on the side. And that's what we learned from a lot of the guests.
I mean,
of course.
There's a reason, you know, that some bands
from my experience, the fat cats usually just sit in your lap and then fucking ask for food, but in their own way. And then passive aggressively keep opening your studio door. So you're like, why do I keep hearing things? And it's like, oh yeah, that's my fucking cat. And now,
should we introduce Lucille?
That's Lucille. Just so you know, she doesn't care that I'm on air. I mean, everybody else that's in my quarantine and my little hoarding immunity here, if you will, they don't do that. But cats, like, let me just tell you, cats are the ultimate 2020 spirit animals, because like Paul Lorenzo, who is the drummer, it's not Lorenzo, it's not Lorenko. So, you know, if you're reading in the middle of Lost Symphony, but he has a Sphinxy cat that he rescued, mind you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
A Sphinx cat. And
what's the cat's name? I always
Blizzard.
See him on Blizzard. See him on Instagram.
And if you see Blizzard, I'm just gonna do it on my desk right now. All right, like he'll. Oh, I can't. You just saw my balls for no reason. But so basically, he sits there and he'll take anything systematically on his kitchen table and just slowly just push it off. And like the thing is, you have to understand about Paul. Paul never wanted a cat by himself because he doesn't want to ever say bye to an animal because he gets too attached, and like he's like one of those guys. So he would feed the stray animals, but then they wouldn't let him pet them. So one day his friends were nice enough to get him a Sphinx cat because he wants a Sphinx cat, but the problem is he wants to adopt. And Sphinx cats are like genetic abominations that people spend tons of money on, that like bulldogs, like they have all kinds of weird things about them because they're like from the island of Dr. Moreau. But this cat was like locked in a room, just being forced to breed with other cats with no interaction. So it's super personable and has to constantly be attached to Paul. And Paul likes his personal space. So he'll like pet a cat, but this cat has to hold him. So he's annoyed that this animal loves him, follows him around, is completely devoted.
Yeah, because he was expecting a cat that does none of those things normally.
Yeah, he's expecting a cat to be like Lucille, who doesn't give a flying fuck. But instead, the cat literally follows him around, talks to him, and then when he's
so he got a dog in the body of a cat.
Yeah, and it's because like man made it to be like that.
Wow.
Fucking crazy. He called me one day and he goes, I think Blizzard only has a thumb on one of his paws.
I don't think cats have thumbs.
They do.
Well, apparently this one does.
Cats have thumbs.
Not opposable.
No, they do.
No, they don't have opposable thumbs.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, anyway, so why don't we change gears? Why don't we talk about some of the things that we're doing in quarantine?
Right down here. The thumb.
Besides Ben just playing with his cat and smoking.
What are you doing in quarantine? So I'm going to start off by saying that when we first started quarantine, and now because, you know, we have a few episodes in the can, wink. We've been doing this for a while. And when this whole thing started, and everyone really was on quarantine because we're like Americans, and we do things like 70%, and then we're just like, fuck it, and then we just reset everything back, which is why we're still all fucking going out of our minds.
Lockdown, yeah.
But when people were first doing that, they were all watching like Ozark and Stranger, whatever it is, Stranger Things,
Tiger King,
or whatever. And what we wanted to really instill upon people were useful things, because I don't know how many times I've said this, and a lot of people say this, and I say, don't be a hypocrite to this concept. Oh man, if there were only more hours of the day, I would do insert anything that you're passionate about. And instead, I'm watching people say, like, I watched The Sopranos for the 7th time in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Siobhán, what are you doing to make your brain better during this time? Are you watching The Sopranos again?
No, I mean, I will admit
really
that I'm watching some Netflix, but I do limit it to like after 11 p.m. So like, depending on when I start my day, I will not let myself get on the couch or like get in front of a like entertainment screen, let's say, before.
There's nothing wrong with watching some fucking television.
No.
It's just the people
not.
that are fucking attached to it. Like it's literally an umbilical cord feeding them their thoughts.
No, but for my sanity, like inertia is my biggest thing to overcome. So if I sit down, it's like going to be really hard to get me up. So I just need to like start the day with stuff. So I always start, I exercise every day. So that gets me going. And then I have a whole list of different projects. Like, yeah, like you said, stuff that I would say, oh, I wish I could do this, but I'm too busy on tour. Or I'm playing at an orchestra concert. So like learning a bunch of guitar solos on violin, like doing transcriptions, writing projects. We worked on some Lost Symphony stuff for Chapter 2 for their albums. Lots of different production things.
October 16th, LostSymphony.com. October 16th, Chapter 2, featuring Marty Friedman, featuring Jeff Loomis from Nevermore, featuring Ollie Herbert, the holy Ollie Herbert, some of his last works ever. Obviously, Siobhán Cronin, who not only played in Starset, you've played with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Andre Bocelli. By the way, does he know how beautiful you are?
Is that a joke? Andrea Bocelli?
What's the
I thought Ben froze for a second.
No,
I didn't know if that was a blind joke because
it was. It was.
We're gonna hit the off the rails button again.
It was. That's why I just kept staring at you until you just kind of like.
And then I was like,
it's like
what
Conan
should
O'Brien.
I say?
If you watch Conan O'Brien, like that's what I love about him. He's so ballsy. He's like, oh, the audience doesn't get the joke. I'm just gonna stand here and stare at you until you start laughing.
Oh my god.
That's kind of my. It doesn't work usually. It's very uncomfortable. I'll be in the supermarket and people are like, what happened to him? But whatever.
Well, if it's in real life, it's less awkward. When you're on the internet, you never know if somebody froze.
Siobhán,
and that's
not true. It is actually more awkward in real life. But that's what I like about it. I love making people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's why they don't go near me. It's great. It is. It really is. Thanks, Cory, for noticing.
Yeah. So where the hell were we? We were talking
about what we're doing in quarantine, different projects, ways.
Yeah, what are you doing,
positive.
Cory? You seem busy. Well, you look gaunt. Are you eating?
Thank you. I eat in like short. I binge. And then I don't eat for like a day or so. It's like I have to look at my calendar. Like, okay, I ate Tuesday.
Oh so my god, I don't know.
I'm the same way.
It's not that bad, but yeah, no. I mean, I think we've been fortunate because of the way we work and the fact that we can work remotely. That me especially, I've been just as busy, if not more busy, since everything happened. So I find myself working 12, 14-hour days. Mm-hmm. So I've actually been like, as hard as I go at work, I'll do this. I'll switch over to Netflix at say like 11 or 12 midnight. And then I'll just crush, I have to crush.
You're like as
episodes.
Intense about your Netflix watching.
Right, I need to relax hard now because I don't like relaxing. And we've all talked about this, but it is a weird feeling when you have momentum and you're working and then you sit down and you're like, all right, no, I need to take a break. And you sit in it, and the first thing your brain does is go, but you could be doing that other thing that still has to get done. And then,
well, if you watch anything about anybody successful, like I just watched the David Foster documentary. Everything successful just leads to more anxiety, and then it leads to more self-doubt. Like the whole thing starts off like I sold 500 million records, but I hope I can do Broadway.
Yeah,
like what you can't just. It's not enough for you. And that's the thing is people don't realize that the greatest musicians, the greatest producers, the greatest entertainers are rooted in self-doubt. There's a very thin line between perfectionism, narcissism, and total utmost insecurity. You know what I mean? And
I can absolutely believe that.
Where those meet is what sort of breeds for like that crazy creativity, because that's also why like you hear a lot of these documentaries. Well, he was a terrible person at the time, but like, yeah, made some great music. Like if you listen to Fleetwood Mac and you listen to like that, their love triangles, fucking octagons, where the goddamn fuck you want to call that shit. You're like, oh, well, that makes sense that The Chain came out and that song was really good. And it seems like Lindsey Buckingham had to sing that one. And there was a lot of angst in that bass solo. Like,
yeah. And so when you guys like, especially, you know, Siobhán, I know that you've probably dealt with this on a macro scale, but I know that just Ben and I, when we get really busy with Lost Symphony and we're cranking out, you know, at the same time that we're producing and recording music, we're also working on video content. And you know, as this project has grown, the team has gotten bigger, there's more people involved, and I get this intense like boost of motivation, but it's like you know, the lion is nipping at your heels type of motivation. So it's like the stress goes up with the amount of work, but at the same time, it's more rewarding because you see stuff getting done.
Yeah.
So it is like, it's a weird feeling of like, you know, you talk to people that are working at a really, really high level. Like imagine running a multi-billion-dollar company. I go like, the thought of that would be simultaneously like euphoric for like the accomplishment and also fucking horrifying thinking of like how much pressure that is to maintain. Do you have to be like a sociopath to operate at that level?
Well, one of the funniest things I remember is like one of my good friends, I'm a friend of all of us, actually, Paul Geary, who was a drummer in Extreme, but also manages people like Joe Perry and Johnny Depp, and has just worked with some of the greatest people in the industry. I cold called this dude before we were friends, like years and years ago. And Paul, if anyone knows Paul will take almost anyone's call, and he's going to be so fucking annoyed that I said that. Like, don't call me. We
can post his number.
Yeah, we'll post his number right at the bottom. But like, Paul's very, very, very kind. And if someone takes the time and says, "Hey man, would you just give me a little bit of your time and let me pick your brain," and blah, 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 blah. And I remember him telling me like over a decade ago, Ben, here's the problem. It's going to cost you at least $100,000 to prove the concept, to market properly a single. Then, heaven forbid, it actually does well. You need another $1 million or some crazy number. I'll probably say it was only $250,000, Ben. Some crazy amount to sustain that with the marketing necessary to do that. We should actually set that
precedent really quick. Whatever Ben says, bring it down about 25-30%. It's probably closer to what actually.
I'm just making up shit because I'm fucking hallucinating. I literally took a giant.
But yes, continue. Sorry,
shrooms.
I just want to set.
But the point is that like a lot of people have the misconception. Like, let me just dispel something. If you're playing music because you want to get laid, because you want to make money, you want to be famous, you're a fucking moron. Because you should become a plumber. You should become an electrician. You should go to that vocational school, skip out on college, don't get the student loans, and learn a goddamn skill. Be good at it. Make a lot of money. Because guess what? When my pipes burst, I will pay a motherfucker whatever they fucking ask me, because my shit is exploding. Literally. That said, nobody gives a fuck if I can play Franz Liszt on the piano. Literally, they're more interested if I can play Earth, Wind, and Fire on this deck and Michael Jackson. They're like, holy shit, who would have thought of putting Michael Jackson with Earth, Wind, and Fire? Like, where meanwhile, I've taken these 10 fingers and learned. People talk about 4-way coordination with drums. 10-way coordination, motherfucker. They don't care.
Oh, listen, you're preaching to the choir. I mean,
But you have these people, though, that have these skills, and there's no way for them to actually make money unless you make the little money teaching other hopeless people to be hopeless and to beg their parents to feed them.
Yeah, but I wanted to go back to Siobhán for the thing we were talking about before Ben went off the rails again.
I curb stomped it. I'm sorry.
2020'd it.
I 2020'd it.
Have you felt the that kind of dual pressure versus like euphoric feeling of success, like as you get these gigs, and how does that kind of work in your mind?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think just as a general principle, I always think that I'm happier and feeling better when I am kind of stressed out and I do have a lot of things that I have to do, because it does force me to produce faster. And when I have too much time and not enough guidance or not enough like, specific goals that I've lined up for myself, then it's so much harder for me to get anywhere and I start to get overwhelmed and depressed. So you kind of have to fall into that weird personality type that I think all of us kind of are, which is like, we do kind of seize that stress and that pressure because that's what makes us produce and makes us create, and it gets us on, that momentum. So
yeah, it's a weird thing to synthesize in your brain, because you picture success as sitting on a beach, in front of your mansion, and drinking a Mai Tai, but now then you realize everything that you've done that has made you more successful just led to more fucking work and more.
No, this reminds me, speaking of Dan Beck, though, something he said the other day to all three of us that I thought was super interesting is he said, success is how you deal with problems. And that's so interesting because I always am curious about what people define success as. And that's so
the
true.
Higher the higher the class, the problems. Like, dude, I fucking put Dom Perignon on the rider and they brought me this cheap ass fucking Louis Jadot. This is not even from the same region in fucking Italy. What
those
the
shoe
fuck?
Companies?
In fact, they're basketball teams, Cory.
No, but it's true. The more success you get, I mean, the more pressure there is. And I even see being in Starset, obviously I'm not the front man. I'm just the violinist and I'm part of the band. But, Dustin, who has to deal with the pressures of being the front man and writing a lot of the music, I can only imagine, because you start with something.
May I interject? Yeah. For those that can't see, Dustin is so dreamy. I love his hair. And just for everyone else to know, I tried to be inspired by your band because I've done my hair much like Dustin, because I think that because this is a very economic haircut that I can do myself. And like everything about him, it leads back to logic. There's a whole reason. Like, why would you do this? Oh, because any fucking asshole can cut their own hair in the mirror and then just have their girlfriend shave the back of it. Boom. Free.
Yeah, well, when you're on tour too, especially for long periods of time, you gotta have a cut that they can all maintain for each other. But what I was saying, I mean, it's, I see somebody go through starting something that, is their passion project, their idea. They have this music in mind. And then as you get bigger and you get more attention, you have more people expecting stuff from you. Right. Every time you write a new album, you never know if you're going to please them or you're going to piss them off.
No, and that's not just fans, but now you're growing a company and you have, a stage crew and a touring. Yep. Basically, you're a touring business that employs a lot of people, and you're responsible for not only entertaining the crowds, but also keeping these people employed and happy. So now you're worrying about all these different things with the creative and the business side. So yeah, I don't envy Dustin. But
the good thing about Lost Symphony is that we wrote all these songs kind of out of order, and they're all fucking boss. So like we don't have to worry about it because every album's going to be ridiculous.
Well, the funny thing is,
Chapter 2 that's coming out.
Symphony, we basically just wrote like 20 something songs, and then we're like, oh, we should probably start putting these on records.
Yeah,
it was definitely an unconventional
process.
Although
process.
I will say a very unrealistic thing that did happen to us. We were like, oh, what if we got Marty Friedman? But then we did.
Yeah, I think that happened with every guest we got. Well, what if we got this guy? Nah,
yeah, well, I mean, we got to thank Ollie for that too, because Ollie kind of popped our cherry, because like for me, it's like, hey man, like Joe Satriani, will you play on my record? He's like, how did you get this number? You know what I mean? Like everyone picked up Ollie's call, and Ollie also got to play on all these, like, I think, he played like the Rock Cruise or whatever. Shiprocked with like my buddy Drew and all that, and met so many people. But like one of the first guys was Bumblefoot to get in touch with us. And Ron is just an amazing guy. And one of the things I love about a guy like Bumblefoot is he literally, all he does is build up other people. All he does is encourage other people, even though he's like this space alien level guitar player. The first thing he did was write to Cory and I. We were actually in California together. And he just wrote, I think this music is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And to hear that from somebody, who played in a Guns N' Roses, which is one of my favorite bands, not that that's the Guns N' Roses I think of, certainly one of the sickest guitar players I've ever seen. The guy doesn't even need fucking frets. It's bananas. But then to have him even play on Singularity, the song on Chapter 1, because Ollie just emailed the dude, He didn't even email him. He fucking called him. He's like, "Oh, I'll just call Ron. It's fine. He'll do it. He's really nice. I don't
But that's honestly stuff like that's what I appreciate about everyone in this project, especially you, Ben, is that you believe that anything is possible when it comes to things like that. And that often is the point where people meet the barrier to success, is where they think, oh, I'll never get that person, or this will never. I mean, I have to think about Dustin too, because it's like at some point he had this idea that there's going to be a bunch of men in spacesuits with cryo shooting out of their backs, and it's going to be outer space theme, and he's going to have all these love songs and like all this. And somebody probably was just like, what the fuck? No one's going to ever watch that.
Yeah, but look how many Scientologists there are now.
Yeah, but you know what? The point is, like someone like that, they don't let people get in their head and say no. You know, when you have that vision, a lot of times you got to just keep rolling with it.
Well, you have to. I always say this to people, and again, also a very fine line, that you have to have a certain level of delusion to actually have the piss and vinegar that's, for the most part, unless it's just serendipitous and you're in the right place at the right time, to make it happen. And it's one of those things where one of my favorite quotes, and honestly, I don't even know if it's from him, but someone told me it's attributed to Bono, but I love this quote, is somebody had asked him in an interview, did you ever think that you would be in the biggest band in the world? And he said, I always knew I was in the biggest band in the world. I just didn't know when the world was going to figure it out. And that is some cocky ass motherfucking shit. But you go and see U2 and ask David Abruzzi from Pearl Jam. He'll tell you what their show is like. Dude, he's talking to the Pope. He's taking pictures at the fucking Grand Canyon with the goddamn president. He's like, I mean, how much, like, he literally is like a mystical figure, and his band arguably is the biggest band in the world. And I understand maybe Metallica or Ed Sheeran, that's more, but like, you go to a U2 concert, and you might
think U2 is the most accessible rock band that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Like if you just, you're like, oh, I like rock music. All right. What's your favorite band?
Posters back there.
U2. I like U2. You know, it's very, you know, straight. Like they've definitely found that path that was, you know, people that wouldn't like something like a rock show can still get behind them. But at the same time, they have so many classics that are, you know, legitimately just like actual like rock classics.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that really you gotta give a band like U2, and I say this because that behind me is a U2 poster, but that came from the estate of Bill Graham. That's the original test printing for the Joshua Tree. That's the one. So it's pretty cool. That's why I like it. I still am a huge U2 fan, because whether you love them or you hate them, when you go see them live, you go, there's a reason they're $500 a ticket, because they really are like, they put on a show. And they know how to put on a show, whether it's appearing on one side of the stage or not the other side of the stage, or having the craziest amount of lights, or just coming out with just an acoustic guitar.
You guys remember shows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
No.
I'm starting to forget at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to forget what it's like to even play out. Like, you used to play out. Like, I don't think I played out with a band in like 2 years. I just done weddings. Like, that's the best thing I've done. And ironically, people are much more thankful for it, and there's usually a way better crowd. Not for me. I mean, for you, but for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You guys seen the socially distant concerts they're putting on? I think over in, I think it was the UK, where they have basically it's a bunch of little mini platforms where everyone's kind of huddled. It's like,
well, here's
in theory, good, but financially, I don't know that it's sustainable. I think that's the real question.
I have to ask you guys this. So they're now doing the drive-in movie thing, which cool. Mm-hmm. Drive-in movies, stay in your fucking car. All right, I'm with it.
What about the drive-through strip clubs? I saw something about that.
We'll talk about that in a second. But Metallica is now doing $120 a car to watch a pre-recorded, not like live simulcast, just a pre-recorded Metallica show. That you, by the way, if you go and see Metallica, there are like 197 full HD soundboard recording, like 87 camera fucking Metallica shows on there, and they're asking $120. So if you have like 6 people in your car, like you have a fucking minivan, right? That's $20 fucking a person during the pandemic to see a pre-recorded Metallica show where somebody fixes Lars's drums so that some drum asshole doesn't go, what the fuck?
I have not seen that, but that's crazy.
$120 to see it free.
Are you saying that's a good deal or a shitty
deal?
So it's at a drive-in?
It's a Metallica concert event, and they're simulcasting I don't know if it's S&M too. Maybe it's like one of the new ones that they haven't done yet or whatever. I didn't pay attention because they lost me at $120 for a pre-recorded show. But it's $120. They're going to do a drive-in movie theater event, which they've done before, things like this, which I've gone to, for like $15 a ticket at a theater, you know what I mean? Where they have the 80,000 watts of sound, because that's part of the reason you go to a theater. It has a fucking screen that's bigger than my fucking house. And I'm a sound guy. Hence the reason I yell, because I'm deaf. But I know what an 80,000 watt sound system sounds like. And I like feeling the bass from a U2 concert. I like feeling it. So when I'm going to pay $20 to see Metallica in a theater, I want it to sound like, if I close my eyes, better than seeing them in person, because we all know that that's a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got the good sound in your car, I guess it could be nice. Get some subs going. Yeah, man. Talk to my 23-year-old self working at Best Buy with my fucking 2 kickers in the back, dude. My separates. First off, if you have like a fucking $3,000 non-stock car, like system in your car, and it's worth more than your car, you're a fucking loser. Get your priorities straight. Maybe those people just like music, man. Those are the people I say that records. To my young self.
Yeah, it is interesting though, because I don't know that anyone's really figured out how to manage this, like having concerts virtually, because there is something. It's like you just literally can't get beyond the fact that the people just aren't there. Like if the band is not there, somehow them just, even if you can just see them and hear them as well, people just aren't as into it.
So this brings up a very metaphysical question. Do we die and are we still here when we're gone? Are all the energy of the people that were in the Boston Garden or in Fenway when fucking the Dropkick Murphys broadcast themselves, because they play every year, and they did it from Fenway Park? Are all the dead Fenway fans hanging out like the fucking Sixth Sense? I'm talking to people that have died. Are they still amongst us? Are they enjoying us now? Are we playing for all the spirits of those that have passed?
I have no idea.
No?
Third set of rails we've destroyed in this episode.
I'm just saying my lights sometimes turn on and off by themselves, and I get scared at night, and I just didn't know how you guys felt about it. So that was kind of my roundabout way of asking, like, do you believe in ghosts?
No, I mean, sometimes I feel like there is some spiritual energy maybe, but I don't know.
Oh, Cory's totally like, nah, dude.
Cory's like, nah, I call bullshit on that.
No, fuck that shit. Just so you know, like I actually
do follow your train of thought from like concerts to Fenway to dead people.
Yeah, it always
brought
has
to you
to
by
go
GlaxoSmithKline. You guys can support us too. Actually, in fact, I support you a lot, GlaxoSmithKline. If you want to be a supporter, we can either totally fucking shit on you or endorse you. Let us know.
Yeah, that should be our pitch to advertisers. Like, you can either get a good review or we can shit on you. And all 12 people that watch this,
and they're like, "Who are you?" If they even respond, like, "Mom."
Oh my God. But it's so funny to be talking about like making a living as a musician when I feel like, at least I speak for myself, I love extremely complicated music, like classical music. And I might spend a ton of time learning a piece to share it and have 5 people care. But then if I play like a cover of a pop song with like a sick beat, it's like thousands of people care. So it's just like, it's so funny.
That's the realization of being a DJ.
Want.
Are you kidding me? Like, all of my life, I practiced on the piano to be good. Well, first off, just to find out you're better than me, which is upsetting. But to basically, just like, I gave a perfect example. So one of our future guests is Jason Costa, the drummer from All That Remains, who's a fantastic drummer. But Jason
funny guy.
Has played, first off, on Lost Symphony. And secondly, he's seen me in all of my different iterations in my band because he supports local music. Thank you, Jason. But he's never like complimented me like, that was really great, Benny, or like, fucking heck, like more than just like, good job, like. But I DJ'd one of
good job. Want a shot?
Yeah, good job. Here's 73 shots to destroy your liver. I hope you don't remember any of this. I remember going and I DJ'd our friend Adam's wedding, and he fucking came up to me after I like DJ'd for a few hours. We had like a little metal section afterwards, and I was just slamming it from Judas Priest to like the climax of the Slayer song into Dio. And he comes up to me and he's just like, Benny, you're really good at this. And he like took like, oh no, really, dude. Like really, you're really good at this. And like he like uncomfortably long, like looked at me like,
it was shit-faced.
Wow. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, that's what you remember me as. And then after, he was the only person during 2020 that came and did an interview here, but you were socially distant. He was in another room. And after he left, as we're like looking at each other from like a nice distance, he goes, Betty, people are going to listen to your songs, but this is how you're going to make your money. I'm like,
only I don't know how sponsors.
I don't know how I take
like
that
Sam
though.
Adams
like
beer.
I know you played with Marty Friedman and Jeff Loomis and even me, and it's pretty good.
Even you.
But you should stick to this radio thing, podcast, and what do they call it now? The talkies, the vaudeville thing, like that. This is you're gonna do fine. Thanks, Jason.
Podcasts are definitely. I mean, yeah, it's
that's
amazing.
A 2020 thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, it's like like I say it a lot. Like I've been called the lower side of ideal. Like, how the fuck do you take that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, man, people are gonna listen to your music, but really, your calling is just yelling at a computer.
Well, I think the more advanced your musical taste gets, the smaller the audience eventually is, because the more you know about music.
Hashtag jazz.
Hashtag jazz. No, but that's really a thing. I mean, people that play jazz, classical music, even like, a lot of intense metal music, it's like the more complicated it is, the harder it is to reach a wide audience. And that's just by nature of the fact that most people like simple things, So podcasting is the future in a lot of ways. I mean, it's already in the present, but
I call it basic.
It's people talking.
I got to tell you too, when people in another lifetime, when there were weddings, sent me what I call basic playlists, which is just like, like the song, like the dumbest songs ever, but like whatever, like they work. I know this is going to be great because basic equals good. Because the worst thing is when you actually like DJ for a bunch of musical elitists and you're like, you play the Temptation version of this? Why wouldn't you play the Beatles version of it? Like,
oh my gosh,
what's wrong with you? And they sit there with their arms crossed like they're at a fucking show, like judging you. And you're like, dude, just have fun.
Welcome to classical music.
Basic people are just like on nitrous oxide, and they're just like hearing womp womp womp, something about Old Town Road and womp womp in my horse, womp womp womp, and then they're just smiling. They don't know where they are. Like ignorance is bliss, dude. Sometimes I think if I did have an aneurysm and I was like, but I had a smile on my face, don't knock me out. I'm having the best time of my life. My consciousness is the thing I'm the most scared of.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another thing that can kind of be extrapolated to everything else, but those are the people in the middle.
They don't know what that means, Cory. Stop assuming.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're so anyways, people way too much credit.
Which even comes more to my point that there's, extremes in every situation, and then there's down the middle. So the basic playlist hits the middle, which is most people. You're going to have people on one side folding their arms, and you're going to have people on the other side that maybe are way too into the basic playlist. I don't know. But like anything else with music, if you're playing something, if you're Nickelback or you're a pop star, and you get the most like intense hatred that you'll see for any artist, if you're at the top, that's like the 3 or 4% that are absolutely super loud and super annoying and doing that, and then you have everyone else that's buying the records and are making these people able to maintain these careers.
Well, what's really funny is I love talking to John Garabedian. He's a good friend. He's actually asked me when he can come on the show. For those that don't know, even just a few years ago was the open house party, which was in 200 different fucking areas. He played nothing but pop music. John had everyone from Katy Perry to fucking the Bee Gees to Kiss to Christina Aguilera. Like, name anybody who's had a number one that they've been through his studio. And he's still doing music programming and all of that. And it's so fascinating to hear him talk about what's still resonating. And people don't listen to the Beatles. Like, apparently the Beatles, even though people love, they sell so much music, people don't want them on the radio. People don't actually want to hear the Beatles. Post Malone, but like,
well, the other day, it's different people. So,
but hold on, but in the pop world, okay, but it's still like a band like Pearl Jam still tests when people play it. But in a pop world, okay, he was like the other day, Ciara 1-2 Step. I'm like, really? That's the one? Like, yeah, man, people love that. And as a DJ, I've discovered 2 songs that like never in my wildest dreams would I think would elicit the responses that they do. And I actually said this to John the other day. He was like, really? And his DJ was like, oh yeah, no, he's not kidding. It was Mr. Brightside by The Killers.
Oh, yeah.
And fucking Fountains of Wayne, Stacy's Mom. Because I'll tell you, as a DJ, I've DJ'd all night and played ABBA to like Ricky Martin to fucking Michael Jackson, all the generic bullshit. And you totally straight-laced crowds, and then you put on Mr. Brightside, and people will be crowd surfing. Or you literally hear them just scream. And you're like, this is it? And if they like that, and you slam it into Stacy's Mom from the Gin where they completely rip off Rick Ocasek with,
one of the guys I play with or used to play with a lot of the bars around Boston, that was our secret weapon. Like if the crowd, you're halfway
Which
through
one
the
of
third,
those?
Halfway through the third set, and people are starting to go get their drinks and they're walking away from the dance floor. You start that opening riff to Mr. Brightside.
Oh yeah,
and you will have,
which is deceptively hard. By the way,
it's incredibly difficult. I worked at that for weeks before I was able to do it shit faced in the third set.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But
so
that
catchy.
Absolutely crushes, no matter what the crowd. And if you're DJing a wedding and you have like a lame ass crowd, that'll be the one that will get people to get out of their seats.
Yeah, they'll start singing every fucking. And here's the thing: this is the magic too of being a DJ. So like when you're in a band, people have to know your music to sing it and get really excited about it. So if you go see Star Set, which is everybody that goes there know their music. So it's like if they stop playing, people actually sing. If I stop playing at a show, the sound guy turns me off because he thinks our set's over. You know what I mean? Like, whereas if I'm DJing and like I'm doing like the Killers and I just pull the fucking crossfader down or the volume down, you hear a whole fucking room singing as if you were at a U2 concert. Where the stars have no name. And you're like, oh my God, this is the song. This is the song. And then of course I live with a 15-year-old because my girlfriend has a daughter. And it's like classic rock. It's like, of course I know that song. How would I not know that's like, I was listening to the 3 Days Grace or something. Oh no, it was Bodies. With the bodies hit the floor.
Oh my God.
And she starts singing in the pool. I'm like, how do you know this song? She's like, oh, it's a classic.
Classic for
Drowning
a 15
Pool, classic rock.
Drowning Pool's classic. But then you think about it, it's so simple. Look,
they say
the same thing. They say Beetlejuice, like over and over and over.
Yeah, think like those. I guess they're a one-hit wonder, or what? I don't know any other Drowning Pool songs that have stuck around.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, like it's got to be a weird feeling to write one of those. Just like
Did you
Mr. Brightside.
2020'd him.
I know it's like people don't know any other Killers songs. That's it. It's like, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Well, no, I was gonna say I 2020'd the guy from Drowning Pool in 2001 because like I saw them play, and then I shook his hand. I said, "Really good set," and then like 5 days later, he died.
Oof.
I told that to Haley. She gave me the exact same response. With her 14-year-old guy friend, she some reason thinks younger boys is cool. I don't get it. But Drowning Pool, I was like, as we were in a pool, I was like, yeah, I think he died right afterwards. It was just total silence. And that's kind of how I felt about it too. I was like, thank you. I didn't know if it was like him dying to let me know of my powers, but that's very selfless act on his part.
Well, on that note,
Cory's like, I'm just gonna have to edit this out.
We're gonna need so many rails.
We're gonna have to curb stomp that by literally just editing it out of this whole thing, and then you're just gonna see me go. Instead of like freezing, you just seem like somehow just move to the other side of the screen because Cory's just taking out 18 minutes of complete bullshit.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Now we're coming up on the end of the hour of our first hour here.
Oh man, is it over yet? Oh man.
Just about.
Yeah.
Siobhán, can you do what you've always done for all the people that know you? Can you just give us a synopsis of everything that just happened so that we didn't have to pay attention?
Yeah, very clinical, entertaining
synopsis. Just so those people who weren't listening, like me, who's actually here, can know what we do.
Cory and I tried to talk, and then Ben talked over us. That's a synopsis.
That's what you have to look forward to in all the upcoming
episodes. All the upcoming episodes. Lots of argumentation.
Way more important people than Cory. I mean, Siobhán's pretty important, but I talk over. That's the thing that's cool about me. So if you haven't figured it out, I'll talk over anybody. Yeah. Like get me anybody on the show. I want David Foster to come on the show. I'll fucking talk all over him. I can't wait till he tells me about the key change in Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You." I'll be like, Kevin Costner knew better than me. Watch the documentary, guys. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Well, I have to check it out. Yeah.
Are you uncomfortable yet? Was that just like a little ellipsis coming out of your mouth?
No, I mean, you asked me to wrap it up. No, I mean, I think we set the stage for what's coming, just getting to know us a little bit. And we've got a lot of cool people coming up soon and a lot to talk about: music, life, quarantine, projects.
Do you ever set the stage for Star Set, or do you have people for that?
No, there's people for that.
Okay. You've been 2020, guys. No, for real. I just want to say thank you to everybody out listening. The objective of what we're doing here is we want you guys to leave with a positive message despite my nihilistic behavior. Knowing that you're not the only ones out there. There are people out there, and we're here. We want to hear from you. Email us if you fucking like this. Share it to your friends. Spread the disease, if you will. The good one. This one. I guess that's subjective. And, ask us your questions, because we do have a lot of really cool people coming on. We have Jason Leckberg. We have Dan Beck. We have David Abruzese. We have Angel Vivaldi. We have Rusty Cooley. There's a whole list of misanthropes that are coming out here. I'm hearing from my sponsor, don't call them that. And Snapple.
We still need sponsors.
This is the greatest stuff. Please send me a case. I live in Massachusetts. That said, you guys have been 2020. Go to 2020-d.com. Subscribe, and we'll see you soon.